and welcome back to Global Access Bars Day. For this next segment, we have Simone Milicis, and she is joining us from Australia to talk about creating your future. And before we go live to Simone, I just want to say thank you all for being with us for the day and for our little technical hiccup where we restarted our stream. So thank you guys for being with us. And Simone, thank you for being with us. You got the floor.
Thank you so much, Emily, and thank you so much, everyone who's on there. I know you guys have just been absolutely brilliant. So Emily was meant to be interviewing me right now, so she's like, "I'll send you the questions," which was interesting. I'm like, "Welcome back, Simone Milicis, Worldwide Business Coordinator of Access Consciousness, best-selling author, and blah blah blah." So anyway, look, you've got me, and I get the theme here that I know that Em wanted to, and I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you guys. The theme here is, I guess, choosing and creating and asking for the future that you'd like to show up. And I see that it's really interesting to me because a lot of the times people will be like, you know, you've chosen this, and this. And it's like, how did you choose that? Or etc. Using the Access Consciousness tools, like seriously, every single tool that I've ever resisted is the one that changed the most for me. Years ago, it's like, if you haven't seen it, there's a book that Gary and Dane wrote, and it's called Money Isn't the Problem, You Are, which I think that name is absolutely fabulous. Money's not the problem, you are. And I actually organized that event. It was in the Gold Coast, and it was 2 days, and I sat in the audience and was listening to them talk about these money tools and was like, oh, here we go again, these money tools, you know. And at that stage, I wasn't aware how in debt I was, but I knew I was in debt. I knew I was a little screwed up with money. And I finally sat in the audience and I went, you know what? What if I just gave some of these tools a go? What if I just started using some of these tools and see if something changes? And it did. My financial reality started to change within about 3 weeks, actually. This money showed up from the most random of places. And it took me about 2 years to get 187,000 Australian dollars out of debt. But my point here is, if you're resisting something, please have a look at it and choose it, because I don't know, it's like, it's what are you waiting for? It's like your entire life is here to live. This is not a test run. This is not a dummy run. It's like, let's go. And Access Consciousness truly matched everything that I was asking for. I mean, and I think that's how you create a future as well, is if you keep choosing what matches the energy of what it is that you're asking for. Like, I had a business way before Access, and it was about changing the world. I'd written this whole piece on vulnerability because to me, I was like, I don't get it. Why do people meet each other and they have these barriers up? What if they were just willing to be like, hi? And if you haven't noticed, I mean, if you've just tuned in or you haven't watched the whole Global Bars Day, please sit down and watch it at some point. It's like, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And the energy that is around the world right now is just like, whoa, it's like try and have a problem, you know. It's like everyone choosing this has created such a huge difference in the world, and it's like it's so incredibly grateful for this, and myself included have resisted so many of the tools and tried to control how things show up or conclude. I am the conclusionist queen of the world. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, going to a conclusion of how your life is going to be and trying to predict it doesn't work. It's like if you're willing to go, right, I'm done, and literally wake up in the morning, and some of the tools I've started using for the past few years, especially before I even get out of bed, like put my hands on my body somewhere and I ask, what would it take for today to be greater than yesterday? Like, this is not rocket science. It's literally being in question. And I know our whole entire lives, we're never really taught to ask questions. We're taught to have the answer, work it out, conclude, you know, try and control how something shows up, etc. Well, I know that's what I was choosing for a very long time. And what if it's easier than that? I mean, the mantra of Access is all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And that includes everything. It includes your money flows. It includes your business, your bodies, your relationships. I mean, I was just talking to someone the other day about relationships, and they were saying how they knew that they had a point of view about their relationship, and yet they knew they were also creating that point of view about the relationship. Same thing with business or money. When you get stuck and anytime you have this fixed point of view, you create this finite reality and you start to shrink, and it's like this judgments filled with judgments, conclusions, like limitations, etc., rather than, you know what, I'm done. I'm actually going to destroy and uncreate everything that I've ever decided about this, all the fixed points of view that I have, all the judgments. Like, please stop judging you and stop judging what you've been creating, because you are way more brilliant than what you've been willing to acknowledge. And one of the things that I've noticed throughout a lot of the interviews and different videos that people sent in, it's so awesome to hear them from everyone too, by the way, like, thank you, and how they thought they were fucked up. And one of the first things that I ever heard, the first Choice of Possibilities class, which is one of the more advanced classes that I ever went to with Gary Douglas, I didn't hear a thing. Like, we got this manual and I remember sitting there and he said, you are not as fucked up as you think you are. And I went, oh, I'm going to that, and I got my pen and I wrote it down in my manual. And I was like, okay, I'm not as fucked up as I think I am. And I remember at the end of the class, I just walked up to him and hugged him and was like, thank you. And he looked at me and he went, what for? I was like, everything, but I couldn't explain it. It was just like this. So access consciousness is so not linear. It's not logical. I mean, if you could work everything out with your logical mind, you'd have everything you ever desired. It's so much about pressing that delete button and getting rid of all the different crap that you have and knowing that there's a different possibility. One of the things that's always driven me, and again, I get this as leading into, creating the future, is the planet. Like I told you, I wrote this huge piece on vulnerability years ago because it didn't make sense to me. I was like, I don't get why people have this resistance to each other and this constant state of separation. I mean, you look at the world at the moment, and the one thing I really don't like about what's occurring at the moment is the segregation. I'm not looking to judge what anyone's choosing. I'm not looking for someone to judge me either. It's like, what if we truly all had choice for how it is that we would like to live our lives? Having that, I just lost where I was going. But anyway, creating the future. That's right. Creating the future is when Access showed up and when Gary and Dane showed up, it matched the energy of what I was asking for and was like, okay, choose that. And for me, the planet, I mean, I've got all these trees outside and all these birds. It's like the planet and the earth has always been driven me to choose something. I was like, what is this? And driven me to choose something greater and choose something more, knowing that this couldn't be it. Like the reality I was growing up in, the reality with, someone telling me that school was the best years of my life. And I was like, wow, are you kidding me? If this is the best years of my life, then this totally sucks, because I did not like school, I was like, there's got to be something else, and then you go to school and it's supposed to, go to college and university, etc. And I took off and I went overseas, told everyone I was going for 6 months, and I ended up staying for 3 years and just kept discovering like people, the planet, the land, cultures, everything. And everywhere I went, it was like, it didn't matter how much money people had, what the color of their skin was, man, female, married, single, etc. I just saw this trauma and drama around me, and this anger, like suppressed anger, sadness, all of that. And it never made sense to me. It was like, there has to be something else. There has to be something else. And can I say, if you're here and you're watching this, whether it's now live or in the future, you know that there's something else. You know that there's something else. So when Access showed up, I was just like, holy shit, this is what I've been asking for. And one of the things that Gary said in the first seminar I ever heard him talk about was, he said, don't trust me, trust you. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, not somebody trying to tell me that if I didn't do what they were doing or buy what they had for sale or something, then my life was completely and totally, utterly destroyed. He was like, no, you are the only one that knows. And you are the only one that knows. You are the only one that knows what you would like, what you can choose to create your future. And I get not many people have even asked you what it is you would like to create as your future. So what if that was your platform now? What if you actually started asking yourself what works for you, not what works for your family, not what works for your, lovers, husband, wife, friends. I mean, most people spend their entire life trying to be liked by people or be like them. Well, what if it was time to give that up? What if you no longer seeked that? And what if you actually seeked you? Because each and every one of us is so incredibly different, and every single one of you has something different to offer to the world and to more consciousness showing up on the planet. And I'm just so like, this whole day has just been amazing listening to everyone and getting to hear their stories and I guess see them in a different way as well. And I can't wait to see so many of you guys around the world. My demand absolutely is that, the travel around the world is way more easier. Ease, joy, and glory. And we get to create our future by our choices. Okay. There is no normal. There's no back to normal. There's a future. Oh, and I had this conversation the other day with our friend, Dr. Dane here. And we were talking about the future and making choices to create a future and acknowledging the choices that we had made, that Gary had made, that created a future. Like if I look at a lot of the places that we've had, like, El Lugar in Costa Rica, the castle in Italy, it's like all the different countries that we are in, all the different choices that we've made. And I was lying on my couch and I'm talking to Dane and we were talking about the future and I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, wow, I just got really turned on. And then we started talking about the future in a bigger way. And I was like, oh, I just got really like turned on to a degree that is not usually sitting on the couch having a conversation, and I was like, oh, how much is the future trying to turn us on? And like, will you let the future turn you on so that you can be absolutely everything you can be with no judgment, no point of view? It's like, let's go. So I know that I've got to finish up soon. I've been given my marching orders, but thank you so much again to all of you guys. And I wanted to just finish off with this, if I'm not going to cry. This. I know that they mentioned it earlier. Crap. If you go check out the website that Megan and a whole bunch of people created it pretty much overnight, which I'm so grateful for. It's called, I hope I don't get this wrong, The Place Movie, I think it's called, theplacemovie.com. I'm sure we'll have it. This book is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, look how worn and torn it is. And on the front of it, crap, I don't want to cry. It says, what you have been seeking that you always knew was possible. And I would really like to make, like Dane mentioned before, about hopes and dreams. And, that's one of the bars, hopes and dreams. Like, and we make this big joke out of it by saying, world peace, get your hopes and dreams bars run, sort of thing. And the way Dane spoke about it earlier was, what if we could reignite our hopes and dreams and actualize them? Like, your dreams aren't going to come true unless you keep taking some action and choosing that. This is one of the things that I would really love to get out there. I mean, you thought Avatar was good? Mamma mia, this, brilliant. And I'm just going to tell you a really short story, is when we were traveling once and we were in this hotel room and Gary was writing the book and he said to me and Dane, can I read to you what I've written? He said, can I read to you what I've written? We were like, sure. So he's like, blah, 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 blah. If you haven't noticed, Gary reads really fast. And he looks up and Dane and I are sitting there on the bed just bawling, like crying. And he looks at us and goes, is it bad? We were like, no, it's not bad. It's brilliant. It's everything that I have ever desired the planet to be. And here's the thing about access consciousness, and that I always notice, we're not talking about anything that you don't already know. Like every time, and the weirder it gets, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, like you freaking know. So everything in this book, I was like, no, this is the way you should be in relationships. This is the way you should be with the planet. This is the way you should be with each other. This is the communion, and I grew up a Catholic, not take communion, like this is the communion that we can be together. It's like, it's beyond this reality. And like I said before, I mean, this reality, I was like, are you serious? This reality, and it's not about resisting this reality either. You include this reality, but choose yours. And that's the future that I know is possible for all of us. So if you go check this out, please, I would love any contributions that you can give to this as well. And because I would like to see this movie out and in the world, because it will be a major contribution. So, and if you don't already know, the property we have in Costa Rica is called El Lugar, which is Spanish for the place. And that will be open. Well, I think you can start to go there mid this year. I'm sure we'll let you know. And it's, I've never been to a property where the land is so amazing. And then when they start building, it actually contributes to the land as well. It's being in communion. It's the place. Okay. So check it out, please. Anything, even $10, $100, $10,000, $100,000, anything that you can contribute to getting that movie out there, I'd be super grateful. If you're grateful for access, it's, whatever. I don't want it to sound like a sales pitch, because I just would really like it to get out there in the world. And that's the future that I'd like to see and have and create. Oh, I think I nailed it again. 11:30 on the dot. Damn, I'm good. All right. Usually I would just talk over, but it's time for me to go, ladies and gentlemen, and back over to Emily and Dane. And actually, we've got a video playing now that is about creating the future with Gary and Dane. So there you go. Thank you so much. Mwah.